Hello, everyone, and welcome to our latest edition of the Leadership Loft with LaKisha C. Brooks. And today we're going to talk about a very special topic. We are going to discuss hairstyle inclusion and discrimination in the workplace. I have my esteemed co host with me. And Neil, go ahead and say hi to the people.
Hello, everyone. I'm Cornelius Dowdell, president of ATD Greater Atlanta, but also the founder and owner of the Nelia Strategy, an HR and talent development consulting firm here in the Greater Atlanta area.
Awesome. He always forgets to talk about ATD. So
I do.
that's kind of an inside joke between us that he never talks about ATD. So, as you all know, typically we do the leadership loft on a Thursday, but for me, health is more important. So, when my esteemed co host said that he had a sinus infection, he wasn't feeling well, I said, take the day off. It's
Well,
okay.
thank you. Yes.
We can move this around. And we always say health is more important than any job that you have. So I want to make sure that we practice what we preach and making sure that Neil got the rest that he needs. And so, Neil, are you feeling better today?
I'm feeling a lot better than I did yesterday. I sounded like a troll.
Good. I'm glad that you're feeling better. And you sound well as well. So
Thank you.
that's good to hear as well. So again, everyone, we're going to talk about hairstyle discrimination and inclusion in the workplace. So recently I posted a photo of me with my rope twist and really showed my vulnerability and my vulnerable side. Prior to that, I actually had never had braids, twists, or any type of style similar to this in my life. And I shared on LinkedIn that the reason for that, even though I always thought it looked really cool on everyone else, I just thought, I'm in corporate, what are people going to think about me and think about my hair? Because I always have my hair pressed, and I do love my hair pressed. It's actually my preferred hairstyle is to wear it pressed. But I never thought that, hey, I can go into this corporate environment and wear these rope twists. So I wanted to share that with everyone. And I'm so thankful for all of the outpouring of support. I had people inbox me, people saying, thank you for your courage to do this. Some people said it looks great. And it was just refreshing to see that I can wear my hair like this. I can still look beautiful. I can still look professional. I can still get the job done. So I want to thank everyone out there who showed me the support when I posted that picture. And I can just be honest with you, when I went to a leadership event the day after I got my hair done, and I'm thinking, are these people going to say something? Like, what are they going to think? Because again, I always have my hair pressed. That's like my style. And I literally thought they're going to be like, what is LaKisha doing? Like, I don't understand. But no one said anything. And to my understanding, everyone just thought it looked really great and still was professional. So again, thank you to the outpouring of support that I received from everyone on LinkedIn and Facebook when I posted that. This topic is really important. So before Neil and I dive into it, I want to talk to you all about the Crown Act. I had someone that I was going to have on the show today, but time schedule, she cannot make it to talk to us about the Crown Act. And so I'll just make sure that I read it to you. So I am going to read verbatim to make sure that I articulate what the Crown Act is. So the official campaign of the Crown Act, which is led by the Crown Coalition, was founded by Dove, the National Urban League, the Color of Change, and the Western Center on Law and Poverty. So CROWN stands for Creating a Respectful and Open World for Natural Hair. The CROWN Act, which stands for Creating a Respectful and Open World for Natural Hair, is a law that prohibits race-based hair discrimination, which is the denial of employment and educational opportunities because of hair texture or protector hairstyles such as braids, locks, twists, or Bantu knots. I also want to share with you what states have had this law enacted. So I'm going to share with you very quickly which of the states that have this law in place. So if you see here, all of the blue states that you see here have the Crown Act as a law. If we look at some of the purple states, legislation filed, but it did not pass. But if you see in some of the states like Georgia, where Neil and I live, there were some areas that have the Crown Act as a law, even though the state did not pass it. There are some states that have not filed, legislation have not filed for it as well, and legislation inspired by the Crown Act. So as we see here, there's still a lot of work to be done to make sure we do not have discrimination against natural hairstyles or textures, to protect people like myself and Neil and others who want to feel confident, want to feel great, and know that we can still be accepted and belong in the workplace. So for those that are wondering where they can do that, again, you can go to the website, thecrownact.com. Very simple, thecrownact.com. And I'll scroll down here. You can sign a petition for your state to have this law passed. So again, it's only 13 states that have passed it, 36 more to go. So I'm rooting for Georgia to
Yes.
go ahead and pass this for us. So I wanted to share this with you all and show you visually what this looks like for some of us that are still fighting for this, that there's a lot of work to be done so that we can still have this law passed in all of our states across the country. So I just want to share that with you all so you get a sense of what it's like for people in the workplace and what states have already done the work and what states still need to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
So Neil, again, we showed this graphic and what it looks like. So what comes to mind to you when you see that there's 13 states that have passed it and there's still 36 more to go? What are your thoughts about the Crown Act?
So my thoughts about that is, that still means that there's a ways to go to be more accepting of natural hairstyles. And when we're talking about natural hairstyles in the workplace, and just in general, it goes back to a cultural thing too. And being that there are 36 more states, that just means that there are 36 more opportunities for the United States to get it right, to no longer discriminate based off of physical appearance and natural things that happen. My hair grows kinky. It grows naturally this way. Right now I'm in locks. Not sure if this is the time to tell a story or not, but growing out my locks has been an off and on thing throughout my life. And so I found myself in college. I had long hair, but when it was time to get into corporate America, I cut my hair to look how they wanted me to look. And then that was off and on. And then when I got the role and got comfortable being in that organization, I would grow my hair back out and lock it back up. Understanding the culture and making sure that it was fine. And then it was time to apply for a new job and move on to another. Same thing. I will cut my hair and start all the way back over again. Now, mind you, I'm blessed to be able to have hair that grows back, but not everyone is. So it's just a testament to the things that, people of color go through when it comes down to their hair. It's a natural part of who we are and how it grows, and then protective hairstyles as well. And I can tell you about a story about that with my own daughter, sending her to a parochial school, which required her to have her hair straight or natural, but we couldn't put in the protective hairstyles like braids or bantu knots because your hair when you're young breaks easy, especially if you're a girl and you're very rough and you're out there playing and things like that. So you need to have it up to keep it protected until it is stronger the older you get. And that was a really big issue until we got to about high school, finding the right hairstyles and making sure we kept it up. And so I don't believe a lot of institutions, including the government, recognize the burden they're placing on individuals, minorities with natural hairstyles, because there's a reason behind the hairstyles we have.
Right. Great. And thank you for sharing not just a story about you, but also your daughter as well, and facing that discrimination or even the fear of that as well. Because I know, so my boyfriend decided to grow out his hair, and it's as people say, good hair, whatever that even means. But even the ponytail, he's not been in the workplace really since growing it out, and now there's a nice ponytail. So it's thinking like, is he going to be able to just have his hair down and wear it natural and curly? Does he have to slick it back? Is the ponytail going to be an issue? What does he have to cut it low again? You just don't know, again, like what people are going to think. And again, Georgia's not one of those states. So legislation did not pass it here in Georgia. And so the fear of that is still in people every single day when going to the workplace. And for me, I never faced discrimination because remember, I never did it. Like I always had my hair pressed, which again is my preferred hairstyle, but it doesn't mean that I didn't see people and like, oh my goodness, I really love her hairstyle, but can I wear my hair like that? And what I love about it is that you're seeing kids nowadays, they're not afraid to do it. My niece has really big curly hair and she loves it. She said,
Yes.
TT, I like when my hair is big. And for her to feel so comfortable to do that, even in her dance recital. And in dance recitals, your hair is typically like, you got to put it up and you got to put in this bun. She had her hair natural in her first ever dance recital. And it was so just amazing to see this young child of color up there in her recital with her big natural hair and feeling confident about it. And
Yes.
we know that that was not always the case, where even as a child, like you were saying with your daughter, you can't do that. You can't get up there with your big curly fro, in class or in a dance recital or anything like that.
Or
So,
trying to grow the big curly fro. That's the
right,
piece.
exactly.
Because your hair is long, and it took a process to get to that point. And when you're talking about children, especially if they have a hard time growing their hair, or you're trying to process it and press it and applying heat to
Right.
natural hair, that's something like that. You end up breaking it and you end up damaging it more. So the protective hairstyles are more important when you're young, so
Absolutely.
that you can have those nice, healthy hairstyles the older you get, and it lasts longer too. You're not turning 30 and worrying about your hair breaking and something like that due to the damage you did because you were trying to fit in to what society wanted you to fit into.
Absolutely. And I love that you said that, because you're saying, hey, there's some kids like my niece that their hair is big and natural and it grows like that. But like you said, there's other kids that need those protective styles to help them get to that. And there's nothing like being a kid and feeling discriminated against because you do have to have a natural protective style to keep your hair protected and things like that. And what people don't understand is that kids start to be self-conscious at a young age too.
Very young age,
We think that
yes.
they don't, but they are. We're talking about 3, 4, 5 year olds that are starting to feel, I don't know if I want to wear my hair like this, mom, or I don't know if I feel comfortable. And we don't realize it until you actually talk to a kid where you're understanding they're aware of what people are saying or even what they look like themselves. So how would you're a parent, Neil, how would you have that conversation with your young daughter or son who may feel like, well, I don't know, dad, if I want to wear my hair in a protective style and natural style, because I don't know what people are going to say about it. They're going to say,
Oh,
something
so
about my hair.
I've had those conversations actually, mainly because it's, when you do as you try to do what's best for your children, even down to the schools that you send them to as well, even if those schools end up being majority white or whatnot. And so you have those conversations with your kids about your hair, protecting your hair. Yes, you want your hair pressed, but you have to explain why. Can't press your hair at this current moment because it's not strong enough for that style.
Right.
So it needs to be in braids. And so, yes, be mindful when you go to the playground and you decide to do those somersaults. Those somersaults will mess up your hair. Uh, so, yes, you need to sleep with the protective head covering and something like that, because your hair is going to is going to soak up all the natural oils that are in there as well. So there's a variety of things that go into it that I don't believe the majority population actually understands. It's not because, oh, we're making this up. No, it is. My hair eats up oil, grease. Matter of fact, I'm forever putting coconut oil in my hair. And so when people ask, oh, what you do with your hair, something like that, it's coconut oil and water. I was like, and it's every day because it will soak it all the way up, no matter what. And understanding that it's a process, even as a process to grow it. I don't like cutting my hair. It doesn't reflect who I am when I look in the mirror. And I don't believe I should have to change that for anyone or any organization that I want to work or partner with either.
Right.
So hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because my mother had us wearing stocking caps, which I don't think was very good for her hair, but she was always making sure it was covered and plaited up or something. So it
Hmm.
definitely started with that. So yeah, I love that you said that you don't want to or should have to change your look, change the style that you want for a job. And we've heard of people having to change their style, especially journalists. I went to school to be a journalist, and I hear a lot of stories of Black news anchors that were told they need to have their weave in, the weave, the big flowing long
Hmm.
weave.
Now they got the lace fronts now. You
Yeah,
know,
I can't
yeah.
wear
So
lace fronts. Put some on. So the hairline's a little different. But they'll have that. They'll have the nice like lace front, like that weave, or they'll have their hair pressed. But you're seeing a lot of women say, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna wear my hair in my fro, or I'm gonna wear my hair in my braids," and they're fighting back, saying, "I can still report the news."
Right.
Even
It's
the
not going to impact talent.
Right.
It's like it's
I have that. Right. What does
yes.
my hair have to do with the fact that I can report this hard news story or this sports story? I see Malika Andrews, who's on ESPN, rocking her braids all the time on Sports Center. And I'm like, you go, girl. And she's a beautiful girl. And she just got her own show, an NBA show. So we need more companies, even in broadcasting, to say it's not about whether or not Malika has braids in her hair. She has the talent.
Mm-hmm.
That should be the focus, not whether or not someone has a fro or braids or dreads or things like that. It should be, can they do the job effectively?
Right.
It should be about.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. So any other stories you want to share about hair discrimination that you've seen or heard about before we go and talk about our next topic?
No, I mean, I have one of my fraternity brothers that's a doctor, and he has really long curly hair, graduating from medical school, and went and literally posted in a group, one of our groups, to see if he should cut his hair before he started interviewing for jobs at hospitals. And there was mixed reviews because everyone still has their own preference.
Absolutely.
I prefer my hair long. Some people prefer their hair short. And I was saying that, hey, it's based on you. I was like, now, if the organization doesn't want to hire you because your hair is long, and if it's not really going to impact your role, then is that the organization you really want to work for? Because now they're showing a cultural aspect to them now that, this is something that's ingrained, not only in that hiring manager or that recruiter, but, that probably is filtering throughout the organization. So are you really going to be comfortable there? And then how long are you going to be there? And we talked previously about the Great Resignation.
Right.
Hey, people are resigning at a high rate.
Yeah, they are.
So that could be one factor too. I can't be myself
Yeah.
in my own place of work where I spend more than 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
working.
Yeah, he spent a lot of time there. Let me ask you, did he want to cut his hair, or was that just something he was debating because of the potential
He
job?
did not want to cut his hair.
He did not. Okay, so I was wondering. So he
Did not want to cut his hair, but
Okay.
wanted some input and insight on what he should
What
do.
he should do. Gotcha. Okay, thank you for
As professionals, as we get, especially our young professionals, as it's time they enter into the workplace, you go through your mock interviews. You go through, oh, what should I wear to this? How should I look? You got to address the hairstyles and what's there, and women go through it a lot more. Should I wear my hair up? Should I wear my hair down?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So it's just a lot, and now men are starting to do it a lot more as well. So like before me and you got on here, I wasn't sure if I was going to have my hair up in a ponytail or if I was going to have it down on the side. Those things matter now because
Absolutely. And by the way, everybody, I told him to put that thing right back in the ponytail. Don't change it for any of us. Wear it the way you wanted to. And so he put it back in the ponytail. But you said something that was very interesting, and it kind of leads to our next discussion. The difference between discriminating and having a hairstyle that's acceptable. Is there a difference? And it kind of goes back to what you're saying, because I teach about bias and preference versus bias. And they can literally bleed on that line together, because that preference can turn into a bias very quickly, depending on what is the nature behind this preference. Like you were saying with your friend, is it going to be an issue for his job? Then that's it's not acceptable because it's going to impact your performance and what you're trying to accomplish in your role. But if it's simply, I don't want you to have your long hair, your ponytail, or whatever hair he's going to wear, but there's no rhyme or reason, it's not having any type of impact on his performance or his job, then it becomes discrimination or bias. That's the way that I see it. So Neil, what about you? Well, how do you see the difference in some people that says, well, we're not discriminating, Neil, against your friend. We just have a preference and we just think it's not acceptable for him to have it. How do you differentiate?
Well, so because you have a preference doesn't mean that doesn't mean that it's not acceptable. It's still, because a preference is it's a personal choice that you are making, not the organization itself. Again, it goes back down to the role that you are applying for and that you are planning to do. Does your hairstyle have an impact on whether or not you're going to be successful? For the most parts, no. I believe the military. I was in ROTC in college at one point in time. Before I cut my hair, long story on why my hair got cut. It was an accident by my barber. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. Anyway, the military didn't allow men to have locks,
Yep. Hmm.
and so that has started to change. That they can have certain natural hairstyles now, but they still can't touch their shoulders. Like even women, the hair has to be up. They
Yeah.
can't touch
Yep.
your shoulders, and that's just the military itself. So you get to a point to where you know what there's a preference. Okay, you can have your hair, but hey, it needs your military uniform needs to be crisp, clean. You need to be groomed to the T, and it's applied consistently all the way around. So as you're being inspected or whatnot, if you're not well groomed or something like that, hey, you got to go. You know, and that is, I think that's a really good example of something being applied to everyone.
Right.
Whereas when you do get into certain organizations and you see that discrimination you see the discriminations, you can see how maybe the majority they can have their hair long and done. But me, I wear mine. A long protective hairstyle for me would be locks, not just straight and long. If I was to grow my hair out real straight and long, oh my gosh, it'll be like down to here, my shoulders. And just being able to understand what that means, and is that really a preference that you're imposing because it doesn't look good to you, or is it something that's impacting the actual role that the person's doing? And
Absolutely.
that's the line that you need to define.
Right. But it also takes people being courageous enough to say, I have this bias. Because a lot of people don't want to admit it. No, absolutely not, Neil. No, I'm not discriminating. And you have to be strong enough and open enough and vulnerable enough to say, I do have this bias. And ask yourself, why?
Mhm.
Why is there such a bias against certain hairstyles or textures or things like that? So if we even go back to, I think, was it Chris Rock that did that Good Hair documentary
I
show
believe
thing?
so.
It was him. Even if it go down to that, is there a difference between a person of color that has a different texture of curly hair versus one that has a thicker, more coarse texture? We see that as well. When
Hmm.
they have the looser curls and it's considered good hair. Oh,
Hmm.
that's a lot more acceptable than someone that has, I think it's a 4C texture
Yeah.
where it's a lot more tighter curls.
Hmm.
So it's like we also have to look at that kind of discrimination and type of bias as well. And even in our own community,
Yep.
are we saying that this type of curl looks more professional than another type of curly hair, even though we're all Black people?
Yes.
So we
So
see
that
that
biasness goes through. It's even within, as far as how we look at it, and it
absolutely.
goes through, like we talked about just having the different shades of hue of blackness there is. Goes down to that whole hair what we call it, hair type. So you see, yeah, my daughter does this all the time. So she's like, "Oh, you got C. I think I have C3. Yeah, not a C4."
I always know. I don't know what that was.
So, because when I was getting my hair colored, I talked to her first. I said, "Oh,
Okay.
I want to do this ginger orange," and so she made sure she made that my loctician had the right product for it. So, I always consult someone on that part.
Good, good, good. Good. But yeah, you talked about that, the difference in the texture of the hair and the discrimination there. Again, why is one type of curly hair more acceptable than another type of curly hair, even
Mhm.
though
But
most?
that goes back to the historical aspects of things too.
Absolutely.
So back to slavery and how African Americans were divided based off who was in the house, light skinned people here, this that and the brown paper bag test, a lot of things that are just ingrained. And then that once the seed is planted and then watered, then what's produced after that, after decades and decades and centuries, is what you have today. Those biases, those discriminations, those even when you look at movies or something like that, if you look at the gangsters or something like that, they normally have locks, or they
Absolutely.
normally have something that aligns with that already existing prejudice, and then therefore those majorities, that's what they see, And so that's what they don't want in their workplace. So, and they align that in the back of their
Absolutely.
head. And so, but then you get people like us that show up that are able to pull to do those styles, but still have the education and the talent to go along with it to show that, hey, we're not what you see on TV in those movies. So, but
Absolutely.
I believe also there's an education piece to that too. The majority has to that take that take the time to understand culturally where
Hmm.
hairstyles come from culturally, and understanding why minorities or people of color's hair are this way, but then also why we like vibrant colors, and adding to it took a while for me to add color to my hair.
And I don't think your
Well,
hair's that vibrant though, Neil. I mean, it looks.
it's it's not vibrant yet. It's gonna
Oh,
get there.
you said yeah. Okay,
Not yet. We're doing this in phases.
but it looks good.
Thank
Honestly,
you.
like it looks. When you told me the color, I was like,
When I was in college, my hair used to be a variety of different colors. I would be blonde, honey blonde, fiery red, blue or green. And so I've been a very vibrant person. So it wasn't
okay, you
until I entered
are.
into the workforce that I toned that down to be more accepting, or
Yeah. Okay.
received for the workplace. But now I'm like, well, you know what? Hey, I feel that I want to be a ginger orange redhead. So that's what I'm going to be.
That's literally, guys. I'm telling you, when I text him the color he's gonna get, he literally said ginger orange.
Yes.
Now, is that? Then he sent me a photo. I was like, oh, okay,
Hmm.
that's good, and it looks really great. It's interesting you talked about the media and how it portrays a certain thing. So, my boyfriend was an extra in a production, and he was playing a gangster, like a hood guy or whatever.
Hmm.
And they asked him to wear his hair in braids. They said, "We need you to actually braid your hair." Because that's again the misconception
Hmm.
with dreads is that, oh, if you wear dreads or braids or something like that, you must be a gangster. You
So
must be
cornrows.
the
See?
cornrows. Yes, you must.
Mhm.
You must be that type of guy that's in a gang because he was playing like a gang member or
Mhm.
whatever.
Did you cornrow it? Did you do
His mother did.
it?
He said I braid too tight, so I can't be the braider because I braid too. He literally just told me recently, like, "Oh, I had to stop having you do it because your braid too tight." I was like, "Well, I needed to stay and play, so I need
Yes.
to work on. I need to work on my technique, right?
Hmm.
So it doesn't hurt his head." But it's very interesting that the media does portray certain things.
Well, they play into that a lot,
A lot of
in those
stereotypes.
stereotypes. They play into it and they
Absolutely.
leverage it and they use it and they exploit it, and then they put it out there and they they don't accept the responsibility that they've actually helped portray this story, that's out there that has caused a lot of these biases and things too. So because I mean, I would love to cornrow my hair. I want to cornrow these
I did used to
locks
cornrow
at
my
time.
hair in high school. I used to cornrow my hair because I ran track. And but again, I was in high school, but as an adult, it's completely different. And
Hmm.
when I do my unconscious bias class, the number one thing that people say right now that influences the way people think is we take it a step further, social media, because social media, like you're reaching so many different people you would never ever meet in your life. You're meeting them because of social media. So it's just so interesting how that's put into our head. But what I love to see now is I'm starting to see a shift as it comes to braids and protective styles for women of color in media. The reason I got this is I saw a young lady in one of my favorite shows is Law and Order SVU. And she was one of the main characters and she was the victim of the show. And she had her hair like this. And I was like, oh, she is so pretty. Oh my gosh, and her hair is so pretty. I was just like in awe of like this girl. And I was like, man, like I want my hair like that because it looks great. And the next day I put a post on social media saying, can someone do my hair like this? And I've just seen so many other people with hairstyles like the twist or the braids and things like that. So we're starting to see the shift, at least for women. I'm seeing the shift where women are in leading roles with braids or twist, and I don't think anything of it because they're just performing. So hopefully, as you were talking about the men and cornrows and dreads, we'll start to see a shift there as well, where he can have his cornrows, he can have his dreads, and he can still be an attractive leading guy who's not robbing people or doing things like that. But it can still have a really good positive character that he's portraying. So
Hmm.
that's one of the things that again inspired me to get mine was seeing a young lady on the show, and then I just saw it more and more and more.
More and more.
And I was just super excited because when the girl that did my hair, she said that her client that was in there as well is on a show that's out right now. And she said her hair is like this. And she's going to be on the show. So we're waiting to see the episode so we can get excited to see her and her twist in this show that's on Fox right now. So it's very exciting times for all of us as well. So let's talk about hair discrimination as it relates to people that are not Black. Do you think that hair discrimination only applies to Black people, or can it be any race that faces hair discrimination?
I believe it can be any race. So I believe hair texture itself, really depends on that race, and then also the culture in which they're raised
Yes.
to for their hair too. So I don't believe it should be even on the table for discussion. Similar to being Black or whatever your race is should be on the table for discussion. You are who you are. Your hair grows the way it grows. You style it the way you style it in order to protect it, in order to express who you are. I think it's an actual should be a protective right as far as freedom of speech. You know, so
Absolutely.
I mean, if I had my way, I would change my hair color based off my moods.
Well, and I can, if anyone knows Neil, he is probably right. He's probably going to change it with whatever mood he's in. But I agree with you that I think that hair discrimination doesn't matter about the race. I think the Crown Act was enacted to protect Black people, which I love because I think that Black people have faced this more harshly. It has been more evident of that. But I do agree with you that it could be any race. I had people that were non-Black that inbox me and say thank you for sharing because they wanted to grow the hair out and get this very scruffy beard or wanted to color their hair and said thank you for sharing. Because for them, of course, it wasn't about having Black hair, but they said, why can't I wear my scruffy beard if it's not imposing on like my job performance? Or maybe they are a person who's white that maybe they Rastafarian and they want to get dreads. That's what they want to do. But because of discrimination, they may not feel comfortable with doing it as well. So I agree with you. Or maybe they want to have a colored hair.
Or they might have thick curly hair. I mean, keep in mind that whites have thick curly hair as well, and they're constantly cutting it off, and locks and curls and things too.
Absolutely.
So it's like, why are we focused on their hair? I want to focus on whether or not you can do the job that I'm trying to hire you to do.
Right.
And so I was like, this right here is just, it's like, why is this even here? It's pointless to me. It's like, you can be in blue hair and you can have all the way down to your feet, but as long as you can still complete whatever I'm asking for, I'm not paying attention to your hair. I'm looking for results.
Right. And it's like you said, like it shouldn't even be a thought, and again, it doesn't matter about the race. If somebody wants to come in, a person from, a white person or an Indian person want to come in with blue hair that's down to their butt and they want to wear, but they can do the job and it's not a problem.
It's one of the reasons why I love California. I went on a job interview out there. One of the other candidates, he had blue hair and he had on flip-flops. And applied for the exact same job that I was applying for. And I was like, oh, I said, I need to be in California.
Oh my goodness. Yes. So, and California is one of these states that the Crown Act is in law. I just verified. It is one of those states. So Neil may be going out to California. So anybody in California, Neil maybe.
I'm there about 5 times a year. Don't worry.
Oh, yeah. I have a really good friend, Katrina Henry, who may or may not be listening to this, who's in California, who moved there a few years ago. And I'm sure she can attest to definitely how different it is as someone who grew up in Georgia, now living in California. But yeah, I'm sure it's very different there. And I actually will be in California soon. I'm going to go there for my birthday and then have another trip in Anaheim. And I'll report back as well. Even though I've been there, so I didn't think about it at the time because we weren't talking about this. But now that this is a topic, I'm going to report back as well of how different it is.
She's going to come back with new hairstyles.
What will my hair look like after my trip from California?
Very California-ish, I could tell.
Very California. It's gonna be very different. Yeah. So again, this can be any race, guys. So don't feel that it's just Black people, because it can be anyone that's discriminated against, because we have this idea, especially certain industries, the legal field, financial services. There's certain things, even real estate, I can look at I can look at someone's headshot and say, oh, they're an attorney, they're a realtor, they're a banker, because there's a certain look you have to have. But who says that you can't be an attorney with natural hair or blue hair or whatever and do well for your client? Who said that? Did someone write that down? Can I find it where someone said if you have a certain hairstyle, you can't do your case well?
I'm still looking for the data for that too,
Someone provide us the data that tells us that if you are a realtor with red hair or spiky hair or dreads, you can't do it, because every headshot seems to look exactly the same for realtors too. I can always tell. It looks so professional, so clean too.
So professional, so clean. I guess they do it because it'll attract more people to them, and I don't know. Maybe it's a branding and marketing
Maybe
piece
it's a
to it.
branding thing.
But I believe there's an audience and there's a customer for everyone that's out there, though. So
Right.
you could be alienating a whole new market, or you could be attracting a whole new market,
Absolutely.
Because I'm gonna tell you right now, I love the color ginger orange, and if I see more ginger orange hair people out there, or something like that, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, I want to do work with you.
So you can start a ginger orange coalition. So for those that want this hair color, please contact Neil. It's such a great hair color. And it's interesting because I want to get back into theater. So I studied theater and acting in college. Actually, my minor, I was about 4 classes away from double majoring. And I thought about having my headshots in my twists. I was just like, let me do my headshots in that, because I look different. I mean, like when I press my hair, I look pretty normal like everyone else. So I was just like, well, let me do my headshots, because I feel very confident. I feel very beautiful. I still look like I can still play a leading lady, whether it's in a commercial, it's on stage, it's in a movie, and still have these. Honey, I'm telling you, I have a whole new sense of confidence now. Like it is very different now.
But
So
let's talk about that word confidence or something. So
yes,
we definitely talk about executive presence or leadership presence,
yes,
and one of those things is appearance. Making sure that you show up to the role confident. Well, when you look at yourself in the morning and you give yourself those words of affirmation, you're giving yourself those words of encouragement. Your appearance is part of that. So your hairstyle is a part of that. Your hair is a part of you. So isn't it best to make sure that person shows up exemplifying who they are, and
absolutely.
in those hairstyles that's there for them to be encouraged and loved and appreciated, and accepting those things. And so then, especially if you have that confidence. So like you said, you went in there, then it was refreshing. It was new. It was like same thing with me. When I did mine, I was like, yes, I love this. Now mind you, I hadn't had my locks retwisted in 3 months. So when I went to my loctician, and she was like, we're doing this color. I said, yes, put the color in too. I was like, why not? Because it was supposed to be done for my birthday in August, and just conflicting schedules got us behind. But I told her, I said, let's start small with a little color, and then I'll gradually transition it completely. So mind you, I shaved my sides, so it'll just be the top of my hair.
Okay. Well, it is interesting that you pointed out that I said confidence, because I definitely feel extremely confident, and no more or less than when I have my hair pressed, but I feel just as pretty, just as professional. I feel exactly the same. And I love that I can still feel exactly the same and not feel like I have to walk with my head down or something like that. Of course, there's times again when you think, I wonder what someone's going to think, because I look so different on me, but everyone has said it looks different in a great way.
Really great way. But it's also not just confidence, but it's another hairstyle. Everyone gets a different hairstyle, and so depending on the nature or texture of your hair, kind of determines what kind of hairstyle you're going to be able to get too.
Absolutely.
So you could decide that you want a bob next month, and so
Does that require me? You mean like with a
you got to
weave?
cut it. Oh, I
No,
mean,
no, 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 no,
no.
no, 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 no. I'm not a cut my hair off
You're
kind of
not a
lady.
cut. Okay,
No,
gotcha.
no, no, no,
No.
no. I'll do this again. I make it a different style, right?
Yeah. Okay.
A
Gotcha.
braid or twist, but no cutting of my hair. Absolutely not. I'm trying to grow it more. That's what I'm trying to do.
And
So,
so, I think my sister had locks for forever, for about 10 years, but she went and undid hers and then got a silk press. She taught me
ah,
something because I didn't realize. I was like, she's had her lock for almost 10 years plus. And so she spent 2 months unraveling them,
2 months.
2 months unraveling them
Oh my goodness.
with oil and water until it was
Wow.
out. And then she went and got a silk press right before she got married so she can have a different look.
I cannot believe that she
She
sat
did it.
there
She did it
and did that.
with a comb and some water and oil, and just kept going through one strand at a time.
Well, let me just say kudos to her for that because that
Because I would have cut mine off. I said, we're
I
going
know
to
I would have been like,
just,
okay, I'm just
so,
gonna
yeah, we're going to grow this
right
out
on
over
ahead.
again. Yep. So I'm going to take these vitamins. I'm going to take these hair vitamins so it can grow back faster.
Oh, yeah, exact. Wow, wow. So let's think about the future.
Hmm.
Where do you see hair inclusion in the next 5 or 10 years in the workplace? Because again, we're seeing some changes. We have the Crown Act, and I love that they use the acronym that spelled out crown because our hair is our crown.
Is our
And
crown.
again, I don't care what race you are, your hair should be your crown because it's on your head and you should be proud of it. And even if you have alopecia or you lost it for cancer, whatever that is still your crown on your head. So wear it with pride. And if you're walking around and you have no hair, that's okay. Wear that with pride and you're still beautiful as well. So I love that because again, a low haircut or being bald, especially as a woman, can also have its own set of discrimination as well.
It can. My mother is the one that actually showed me that I could do what I want with my hair. She's given me that
Mm.
confidence because she can have long hair, short hair. She used to rock a fade better than me. I'd be like, "Who is your barber?" Because I'm going to the wrong one. And then colors as well too. So I just kudos to Cynthia because I tell you right now, my mother is great when it comes down to hair. But when they're talking about the future and where it's going, you're
Yeah.
kind of seeing, beyond those 13, 16 states, of course, more than likely, the South is probably going to be the last to do anything.
Yeah, I'm
Maybe
looking at the
Georgia.
map. There's no southern states,
No
correct?
Southern, yeah, the
Well, there's
Southern.
Virginia. There's
Like,
Virginia if you consider Virginia.
they the South kind of, we'll give it to them. Them in DC, they like to claim to be the South, but so I think you'll see that over the next 5 to 10 years that, especially with these new generation entering the Generation Z, no, A, we started over, entering into the workplace, that these things are deterrents for them. It's like, wait, my parents let me have my hair any color I wanted to. And now you're trying to tell me I'm gonna enter into this job force and you're gonna tell me I can't do this or I have to have my hair this way? No, we're not gonna go about that. So I think the laws will start to change, regulations and things will start to change over the next 5 to 10 years, especially as they enter the workplace and they become more politically active too.
Absolutely.
Um,
I
and I
absolutely,
just think that's just a progression just for society in general. Um,
absolutely. I agree with you. Yeah, as we see that shift, who'd have ever thought that we would even have a law that protected people of color, especially when it came to our hair textures and
mhm,
protective looks? We never, I mean, who'd have ever thought that that would ever happen?
right.
So the fact that, like you said, the fact that we have this and the 14, oh, yeah, so the 14, I think you said 13, 14, but 14 states that are now doing it. When we see that shift, I, with you, think that there will be more states that have it passed as well.
But
I
keep
think,
in mind that in the Generation Z, or the millennials as they call us, we're the ones that will be making the laws or changing those laws going
that is
forward
true.
too.
So as you get
So, and we're the
older,
ones raising those kids to be themselves as well.
right? Absolutely.
So,
So yeah, I definitely again see that there is a shift going, but also as I go back to what I said about seeing the shift in media, now we're seeing those leading ladies have braids. We're seeing those black girls that are now in those positions where they're powerful, they're strong, they're positive, and they have braids or twists or locks or whatever
or
they're
locks.
rocking. Or locks.
Seeing
You know,
me and
Lisa
them.
Bonet has been rocking those locks for years, and Lisa Bonet is absolutely gorgeous. And her daughter Zoe also has them as well, and she has been leading lady and so many different things. So we're seeing that shift, and like you said, as we see our generation, the millennials and the post millennials, start to become those decision makers and start to change that because those millennials are now, like you said, the parents to the next generation, like the Arianas, my niece, it's her mom that's in
Mhm,
our generation that's saying it's okay for my baby to rock this. And we're going to also be the ones to say it's okay that now Ariana at 20 and now 25 can rock her natural hair.
mhm.
She can rock her locks. She can rock whatever she wants to rock. Your son, in the next few years, as he gets in the workplace, it's now going to be, you know, my dad has been fighting for this. So it's not even going to be a big deal. So now your
Mhm.
son can go into the workplace and it'd be different when he goes in the workplace than even your daughter now when she goes into the workplace. So I definitely see it changing, but we also want to make sure that our perceptions change as well. So the people that are in office now, hopefully some of you all listening to us now is seeing that the two of us, I have my natural, I have my twist. Neil here has his locks, and we are very successful. We are still doing things. It has not been in the way of our talent. We are still articulate. We are still managing nonprofit organizations. We are still leaders in the community and the organization. So you can see that even with our styles, we can still get the job done. So hopefully, if there's even one person that was like, I'm not sure, hopefully two of us can show you that it should matter.
Look beyond.
It's like,
right. You gotta look beyond. As you tell people to read in between the lines, no, you gotta read. Just take that extra step and read through.
Absolutely. I agree. So as we conclude on this topic, Neil, what are some of your last minute thoughts about hair inclusion and discrimination in the workplace?
I mean, even for myself, I want to make sure that, I'm looking at the whole candidate in the workplace, beyond the hair inclusion, asking the hard questions. And so, and as you're saying, asking, am I being biased? Because, just because I'm Black and and I have natural hair doesn't mean that I can't be biased myself on my own hair inclusion as well. So I have to check myself too, because I watch the same shows that the news media puts out there at the same thing too. So, I have to check myself and be like, hey, am I really considering those candidates equally? Once I do those interviews and things like that and not being distracted by, what's in front of me physically as far as, hair, color, and all those things. Secondly, I would say, taking a deeper dive and understanding someone's culture and demographics. And so there could be a reason. One of my past roommates, she did have alopecia. And so she had a head wrap. And she wore it everywhere she went. And so until she got comfortable one day and she stopped wearing it. And so because that was who she is. And so in understanding that, and then she got to a point she started to explain what was going on, but then she got to a point where she stopped.
Yep.
Because you know what? That wasn't who she was. And now she's a brilliant attorney. And so it's the stories like that and the people and being and knowing and accepting of those things it's there. So I would say open your mind, open your hearts, but open your eyes as well.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad to hear that your friend said, you know what, screw this. I'm going to stop explaining. I'm going to take off this wrap and I'm going to be me. And that's why I said, who said that you can't be a successful attorney and have these different styles? Because she's showing that I can do this. And that's still her crown. Her head is her crown, and she's still beautiful no matter what. So I'm glad that you shared that story because it actually gives a real person to the example that I shared earlier. So thank you for sharing. And so what's her name? Let's give her a shout out.
I don't know about that now.
I
said she's a lawyer now. I told you she's a lawyer. I don't want to put a business out like that. So her name is Tamika Gilbert.
We maybe get her some business too now. You never know.
She out there in Louisiana. DeRitter.
Somewhere out there. Great. Well, thank you for sharing that. So definitely want to piggyback on that when we talk about hiring and making sure we're looking at the whole candidate. And especially, again, as we're talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, but making sure people feel like they belong as well. So when they get into the role, if they then decide, maybe they had the hair pressed and they had that really pretty, great front lace that Neil was talking about, but maybe one day she's like, you know what? I want to now start my locks. I want to now have braids. Are we still making someone feel like they belong once they're in the organization? Because again, just because you start one way, you may want to change your style up. Are you still going to make that person feel like he or she belong the way you did when you hired them? Or are you going to give them a second look or then say, hey, sorry, Ashley, we see that you're changing your hairstyle. We need you to go back and change it the way it was when we hired you. Same thing that we see with the newscasters. Are we now going to tell them that they need to go back to that? Or are we going to continue to look at their performance and what they've been producing, not what's coming out of her head? So that's something, again, we need to challenge ourselves to make sure that we are continuing to check our bias, be strong enough, be courageous enough to say, I have my bias. And what you said, Neil, was great. Just because we're Black doesn't mean that we don't have our bias and prejudice of what we think is acceptable. Because some of us have been taught that you need to have your hair pressed. You need to make sure that you have that clean haircut because you need to look professional. Some of us were taught that, which is why we feel that way. So it's not just people that are not in our community that think that. Some of us feel the same way about what we should look like and what's professional for us.
Yeah, and I do the same thing with my kids. I have to stop myself
Absolutely.
with my kids too. Like, so my
Mhm.
daughter has, I don't know what color her hair is these days or something like that, but she has natural hair, and sometimes it's big and puffy. Sometimes she has her lace front. Sometimes, and I love that she's changing up what she wants to look like each and every day or whenever she wants to, because it's her.
Yep.
Same thing with my son. He wants to grow his hair out, and sometimes he might want to color it, whatnot. Hey, do you? Because I don't want to impose the same type of restrictions that would put on me. I want my children to be free and have those freedoms of choices to express themselves, even if it is through their hair.
Absolutely. And I'm sure they are so proud of you. And hopefully,
Thank you.
maybe not your son, because he should be in school, but maybe your daughter is listening. And I'm sure she's very proud of you and what you've done to show them and give them the strength to say, my dad and my mom showed me that I can be whoever I want to be through my hair. So kudos to you and their mom
Thank you.
for that. So absolutely. So I don't want to just give just credit to you now. I got to give shout out to mama too.
Complete. Okay, yes, I'll make sure Nikesla knows.
Make sure she hear that I shout her out
Mhm.
too. Awesome. Well, thank you guys again for joining us for this edition of the Leadership Law for LaKisha Brooks. Again, I am LaKisha Brooks. I am here with my co-host. Go ahead, Neil. Give them that outtake of who you are.
Yes, I am Cornelius Dowdell. I am the president of ATD Greater Atlanta, but also the founder and owner of the Cornelius Strategy, which is an HR and talent development consulting company here in Atlanta, and a great friend of LaKisha Brooks. I love her so much. She's great.
Yes, I love him so much. He
Yes.
is stepping in. I asked him, can you please be our interim co-host? He said, absolutely. He and I have worked together. Oh my gosh, I don't even know how long, when we first got into leadership at ATD, Greater Atlanta. And again, this guy is just amazing. I mean, and not just with ATD and not just with his Nelia strategies, also with his spices, also with his kids, also as a friend. He is absolutely incredible.
Thank
And so
you.
if you have an opportunity, please check out his spices. Neil, please drop a
So,
shameless plug on where we
oh
can get
yes,
spices.
www.neliaspices.com. And so if you like something a little spicy, a little heat, definitely look at neliaspices.com. And it's the last portion of my name, Cornelius, at spices.com. And we have 2 more blends coming out. One is called, we have respect. One is called loyalty, and the other one will be honesty. Those will be launching in 2022.
Yay, we are so excited to get those new spices. So again, I am LaKisha C. Brooks with the Leadership Loft with LaKisha C. Brooks. See us again in 2 weeks. Neil and I will be talking about multi-generations in the workplace. You heard us talk a little bit about that today. We're going to talk about that in 2 weeks. So if you are in an organization and you're just like, we have this issue, we don't know what to do, make sure to check us out. We will be talking about that. If you have an opportunity to visit Brooks Enterprise Consultants, make sure to visit brooksconsultants.com. We have a really fantastic AI training program coming out in November. I'm super excited about it. Otherwise, enjoy your weekend. It's Friday. It's football time for me. It's Friday Night Lights for me. So I want to give a shout out to my Lowndes Vikings as we go into region against the Tifton County Blue Devils down in Tifton, Georgia. So everyone have a wonderful, safe weekend. And we will see you in 2 weeks for the Leadership Loft. Bye.